Well, good day, mate, and welcome to the third annual award show that puts the gas me in games, the Average Joe Awards. You may cheer now. No, seriously, cheer. I can sit here all day until you cheer. Look, it's your own time you're wasting. Oh, fine. Fine. If you're gonna be impudent, then I guess we'll just carry on. But you owe me some goddamn applause. Before we get started, I want to give a quick nod to the games that might very easily have made this list if I'd actually been bothered to play them. These are Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, Resident Evil 2, the remake, A Baba Is You, The Outer Wilds, not you, Outer Worlds, sorry, and Death Stranding. These 5 are critically acclaimed games which are right up my proverbial alley, but fuck them because I'm lazy. Now without further ado, here are the top 10 games which I actually did play. Number 10. Risk of Rain 2. The original Risk of Rain is one of my top played games on Steam. I've unlocked every character and every item, spent hours grinding for the ultimate build, and completed it more times than I've masturbated today. It's a near perfect pick up and play co-op experience, laced with just enough video game crack to make you always want to have just one more run. And this year's sequel managed the transition from 2D platformer to third person shooter pretty much flawlessly. Now I myself am beyond awful at shooters. Put me in a Counter-Strike game and I'll suddenly turn into someone's grandpa, one finger typing and looking down suspiciously at my mouse every time the cursor moves. And as such, I still prefer the original game to this one. But Risk of Rain 2 is still a hell of a lot of fun and objectively better than its predecessor in every way. From the dramatic cinematic boss fights to the bizarre selection of new items which actually modify your character beyond all recognition as you collect them. If you're looking for a dumb, high-energy co-op game to play with your friends, then you could do a lot worse than this one. Number 9. Cadence of Hyrule. Speaking of dumb co-op games, here's a game about dancing around Hyrule, which I completed with a friend in a single afternoon. Cards on the table, I never really clicked with the original Crypt of the Necrodancer, but being the enormous, disgusting, sweaty Zelda fanboy that I am, I had little choice but to give this one a real go, and I'm really glad I did. Putting aside the gorgeous high-res sprite work and the infectious Zelda remixes which make up the omnipresent soundtrack, the actual core mechanics are genuinely really tight, tactical and addictive. You'd be surprised at how much joy there is to be found in staying perfectly on beat as you hop around a screen full of monsters, dispatching them one by one like a Tarantino character on a pogo stick. The wide range of weapons, items and characters in the game give you a decent amount of freedom with your playstyle, which meant I could sit back and abuse a spear while my more rhythmically talented friend got up close and personal, and I appreciate any leg up I can get when it comes to rhythm games. Number 8. Ring Fit Adventure. What? No, this isn't a joke. Look, if you're an avid YouTube viewer, I'm going to guess you're probably in your teens or early 20s, and as such, either don't give a shit about keeping fit or attend a gym regularly. Well, that's great for you, but some of us are in our 30s, have never exercised a day in our lives, and are trapped in a vicious circle of being both uncomfortably aware of the slow clogging of our arteries due to 10 years of pizza abuse, and yet are too insecure to show our frail bodies at the gym full of testosterone-fueled beef men. Well, for those of us who are ready to half commit to keeping moderately fit, here's Nintendo's latest excuse for middle-aged women to own a games console. All joking aside though, gamification is a great tool to get people motivated, and I've managed to keep a daily workout routine thanks solely to this game and the sweat, tears and expletives it's managed to wring out of me. Also, the technology is pretty impressive and tracks movement far more accurately than the Wii ever did. So thanks Nintendo, maybe now I'll die slightly less young. Number 7. Devil May Cry 5. I was in two minds about this one for a while, honestly. After playing through the game initially, I felt like the game was very linear, the environments and enemy designs were very samey, and the new character V was broken and boring to play as. You can check my Let's Play videos if you want to see a guy wander around taking in the sights while his pets score a perfect combo on some waves of unfortunate enemies. So how did Devil May Cry 5 rank so highly in my list? Well, that's because, and I say this as a big fan of the genre, Dante and Nero in this game are the most in-depth, exciting and enjoyable characters to play in any hack and slash ever. There are so many ways to feel like a total badass in this game, so many flashy, over-the-top moves which manage to provide a spectacle without taking any control away from the player. Devil May Cry is both the longest running series in the genre and, assuming we never see a Bayonetta 3, pretty much the only one still doing it. And while it doesn't have the impressive world and emotional story of the latest God of War, for example, it sure as hell wins out when it comes to pure, uncompromising, adrenaline-fueled combat. Number 6. Ashen. As previously mentioned, I gave FromSoft's latest installment a miss this year. I also never played the second biggest Souls-like to hit 2019, Jedi Fallen Order. What I did play was Ashen, and I was impressed. I mean, it's an obvious member of the Fellowship of Souls-likes, and wears its influence on its sleeves, its trouser legs, and tattooed all over its face, but honestly, who cares when the game is this fun? The combat is the more slow-paced tactical style of the early Souls games, but with the added smoothness and weight provided by modern animation, which gives it an incredibly satisfying feel. The low-poly character models look gorgeous, in the most open world I've ever seen in a Souls-like, a world which manages to be tightly designed yet freely explorable at the same time. And once you pass the first hour or so, the enemies get cool as fuck, intimidating as fuck, and aggressive as fuck. And fuck do I enjoy the tension this game manages to build as you crawl your way deeper into a dungeon area, knowing that any minute you could lose all of that precious progress. After the bonfire party that was Dark Souls 3, it's refreshing to have a game that really gives you stakes again. Number 5. Wargroove. Fantasy Advance Wars. If you don't know what that means or why that's awesome, you're probably one of those poor deprived children who never had a Game Boy Advance growing up. And for that I both loathe and pity you. Honestly, it's a common practice recently to create spiritual successors to classic games. 2 Point Hospital, Yooka-Laylee, War for the Overworld, Mighty No. 9, Dusk, Temtem, and it seems difficult for developers to recapture the nostalgic feel and core mechanics of an older game without going in too hard and just creating a pointless remake, or even worse, missing the mark entirely and producing something weaker than the source material. Wargroove has proven to be one of the best of the bunch, taking the classic strategic gameplay of the Advance Wars games and adding in new features such as unit abilities, online play, and an in-depth campaign creation tool. The fresh coat of paint granted by the fantasy theming also injects new life into the series, an area where competing Advance Wars clone Tiny Metal completely missed the mark. Number 4. Link's Awakening. I have a confession to make. Despite being the horrific basement-dwelling, snot-eating Zelda fanboy that I am, I have never played the original Link's Awakening. I played and enjoyed Oracle of Ages, but the entire time I was doing so I was subconsciously comparing it unfavourably to the perfect, untouchable pinnacle of 2D Zelda, A Link to the Past, and afterwards I just couldn't work up the enthusiasm to get around to the series or the Game Boy installment. Today I'm going on record to say that I'm a fucking moron for sleeping on this game for so long, because I rarely had more fun this year than when I was playing through the Link's Awakening remake. My distaste for Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword are well documented at this point, so getting to play a modernised version of Zelda doing what Zelda does best was like a big sundae made of nostalgia and excitement and inquisitiveness. It's like being a kid again and booting up Ocarina of Time for the first time. Honestly, this game needs no introduction, you all know what it is, but if you're a fan of the series who has never touched this game, or someone who loves the game but hasn't checked out this remake, then you're doing yourself a massive disservice. Let's just leave it at that. Number 3. Hades. Despite technically opening to the public at the tail end of last year, I've allowed Supergiant's 4th game a spot on my list due to only seeing a formal release a month ago. I'm normally wary of early access games, but Supergiant being essentially my favourite developer, I was willing to make an exception for Hades, and boy did it not disappoint. It doesn't need to be said that the game looks and sounds incredible, they always do, so let's just talk about the gameplay for a minute. On paper it's a basic dungeon crawler roguelike, comparisons can be drawn to The Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon, but the combat is so fluid, so impactful, so fast paced yet so readable, that it almost feels closer to a game like Devil May Cry. Plus, no 2 runs will ever be the same. Every weapon offers a drastically different playstyle, and the perks you collect during your dungeon delve allow you to mix things up even further. Add into all that a steadily unfolding intriguing story which is drip-fed to you with every death, and the end result is yet another Supergiant game which is obnoxiously hard to put down. And now I've gone a whole paragraph without saying anything dumb, so here's the word scrotum in a stupid voice. Scrotum! Number 2. Superluminal. I'm trying. I'm really focusing my mind right now trying to come up with another game that has been so proficient in just completely fucking with me on a fundamental level. My expectations have been subverted before, sure. Pony Island, The Magic Circle, even Doki Doki Literature Club had its moments, but never has a game made me walk the line between saying, well played, and throwing my monitor through a window so expertly. Superluminal is a short game. It took me about 3 hours to complete, and that's with an extended period of fucking about. But the games which I rate highly aren't the ones which take me 80 hours to complete. They're the ones that stick with me. The ones that do something truly unique and provide moments which I will look back on years from now and think, oh, that was pretty cool. That's honestly all I'm going to say on the game, because if you've not played it, or at least watched someone else do so, then this right here is me telling you to do so. Like now, like close this video and get on with it. Believe me, it's worth your time. Now, before I announce my winner of this little list, I just want to take a moment to shout out Super Mario Maker 2. Because while most of my time with that game was spent playing some of the worst shit anyone has ever shoveled onto a download page, there were some diamonds in the rough which provided some of my favourite gaming moments of the year. This game just needs an option to filter by levels which are actually good. You know, as in not the stupid meme levels that reach the top of the highest rated list, but the actual good ones. And now with that off my chest, let's move on to number 1. Number 1, Anodyne 2. Remember when I said a minute ago about my favourite games being memorable, unique and impactful? Well, here's a sequel to a game that was all of those things, which ups the ante so impressively that it's hard to know where to even begin talking about it. So instead, here are some random words which describe Anodyne 2. Weird, heartfelt, poignant, ugly, gorgeous, surprising, compelling, abrasive, intelligent, lovable, confusing, moving, wacky, freeing, curious, fun, totally fucking retarded, nostalgic, vibrant, sad, happy, abstract, enjoyable, puzzling, introspective, meaningful, worth every second. And thus ends my 2019 lists of games that I liked and you might also like. I feel like my list might be a little different to most people's, but hey, opinions are like arseholes. We all like to shove things up them for the purpose of prostate stimulation. Happy New Year! I'm off to play some Tabletop Simulator, which is the true objective game of the year and for every year since it came out. Bye! Oh, hi, it's me again. I'm back. Hi. Last 2 years I've done a top 30 albums list as a sort of companion to this video games list, but this year I don't really have the time, and to be honest, the list doesn't really suit my channel anyway. I'm more of a gaming guy around here, so rather than bore you with another one of them, I've just thrown my list here at the end of this video. Look at it, isn't it cool? I recommend you check these albums out if you like guitar music and weird hip hop, because that's basically all I listen to. Yeah, here's some cool stuff. Just shouting this out because it needs shouting out. Some of these albums are pretty obscure and they deserve attention. Anyway, that's it. Bye, and I'll see you for some cool Let's Play shenanigans in the future. Won't that be fun? Bye. Again. Bye.